This is Double XL Shot Callers, conversations with hip-hop's power players. I'm your host, Sowmya Krishnamurthy, your favorite rapper's favorite journalist. Today we have Angela Yee, host of Power 105's The Breakfast Club, and one of hip-hop's most influential voices. Host of Power 105's The Breakfast Club.
And we can't just say Power 105. We have to say iHeartMedia.
iHeartMedia.
Because we are syndicated in over 80 markets.
Which is amazing. Got to put that plug in, which is huge. And, you know, in addition to that, just being one of the most influential women in hip hop. So it's great to have you here.
Well, thank you. It's good to be here. That's a great introduction.
But I think what's so great about your story is just being able to work for so many different companies and really, you know, taking them to the next level. How does it feel like being at this stage in your career?
You know, it's hard to say because I don't really ever think about it. It's interesting to me because sometimes I'm like, why is that person looking at me? I forget that people will be like, oh, you're from The Breakfast Club.
Right.
And I feel like sometimes people know my voice more than they know my face.
Do people come up to you when you're
like
getting
if I'm
coffee
somewhere
or at the grocery store?
Yeah, it's not like crazy, but sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, certain places, everyone comes up to me like if I'm at a new artist showcase.
Literally. So
Yeah.
How can I get on the radio? How do I get played?
And people don't understand, like, I don't pick what songs go on the radio.
Right.
I was just at Revolt Music Conference, and this guy comes up to me. So I was like, hey, how you doing? You know, just being polite. And he was like, yeah, you know. So he starts this whole conversation. He's like, I want to see about getting my music on the radio. I was like, okay. He was like, if I send it to you, can you play it? I'm
Right.
like, that's not how it works.
Totally.
You don't just send me a song and I just play your song on the radio.
Right.
He was like, well, if you like it, you can't play my song. You know, it's cool. I get it. And he got an attitude. And I was like, dude, it's not how it works. There's
Right.
a program director.
Yes.
There's a whole system of getting your song on the radio. That's like the last step for an artist.
Totally. I can only imagine what your like DMs look like on social media of like artists sending you their new music.
Right. Like, check this out. And people are like, we get so many of those. You really have to try to stand out rather than just sending a link like, hey, let me know what you think about this. Hey, I appreciate it if you take a listen to this. Like, I get thousands of those, you know? So imagine me sitting there and really listening to each and every one of them.
Well, it's crazy because I think, you know, especially as a woman in hip hop to have that power where people really view you as a gatekeeper. Like if I give Angela my music, I could become famous.
I don't know if I think they just try to shoot their shot everywhere. They'd be
Sure.
like, I'm going to give Sowmya my music. I'm going to
Right.
give Angela. I'm going to give L'Oreal my music.
Totally.
I'm giving everybody my music.
Right.
Something's going to happen. But I think you would be better off really just trying to like come up with more strategic ideas of how to get people to listen to your music. Also, you know, people need to get out there and like record music, perform, do all of those things. It's not just a matter of you sending somebody a SoundCloud link. Like, you got to put in a lot of work.
Absolutely. So take me back. You're from Brooklyn.
Yes.
Originally.
Mm-hmm.
And where in Brooklyn?
I'm from Flatbush.
Flatbush, Brooklyn. So, I mean, coming up, was the entertainment industry or hip hop something you wanted to work in, or did you want to be something totally different as a kid?
Well, I wanted to be a writer when
Okay.
ever since I was like in kindergarten. So that was always my goal. I never really thought about like being in the industry, but I guess I was around a lot of people, you know, just being from New York, being from Brooklyn, like you run into people like that. And then I moved to Jersey when I was in high school. And I met a lot of people there also. So it's interesting. Like, I think about people who I went to school with, you know.
Did any of them become like famous or any names we might know?
Yeah.
Do tell.
Let me see. I went to high school with Lauryn Hill.
Okay, that's kind of huge.
And also, I went to high school with Jennifer Williams from Basketball Wives.
Great.
So her too. I went to college with Santi Gold.
Totally.
And like a lot of really great people went to Wesleyan.
Right.
So, you know, I see people all the time, like Lin-Manuel Miranda, who did
Yeah.
Hamilton. We just interviewed him. He went to Wesleyan also.
Sure.
You know, just a lot of people. So I have always like, you know, come into contact with people. And when I was in college, I ended up doing a lot of internships. And one of those internships was I worked at MTV for this guy, Fred Jordan. And then I worked for Wu-Tang. And that was because my boy Scotty, who owns the studio Engine Room Audio.
Okay.
It's a studio in Manhattan downtown. He's the one when I was in college that was like, yo, I want you to do this internship with Wu-Tang. My boy works for them. I think it'd be great for you. So,
I mean, that's a big leap. So you wanted to be a writer. So you went to college majoring in English, I'm guessing?
yes.
Okay. Now, what were you writing? Poetry, fiction, nonfiction, journalist?
I don't think I've written a poem since I was in kindergarten.
Okay.
But I remember it.
Oh, what was the poem?
It was about the color purple because it's my favorite color.
Do it.
Okay. Purple is my favorite color. It makes me think of spring and summer. A purple dress, eating grapes, lilacs. I love purple.
So you want to be a writer.
Mm-hmm.
You get this amazing opportunity to work with Wu-Tang Clan.
Yes.
Were you a huge fan of theirs coming up?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like,
Favorite member?
Well, I'm going to have to say the Jizza because I worked for him as a manager. But, you know, of course, I love Ghostface.
Sure.
Also. I mean, Raekwon is my guy, too. Like, I don't know. It's hard for me to say. It's like...
Method Man. Can't forget.
I mean, you can't deny Method Man.
Sure.
So, yeah, I don't really have a favorite member necessarily. I mean, I love them.
So you get this internship. What are you doing? Is it like you're getting coffee for the Jizza, or are you actually like making decisions?
Well,
what are you doing?
My internship, I was working for this guy, Mook.
Okay.
And Mook was like, it was the management side of things.
Okay.
So it was very hands-on because it was in Staten Island.
Great.
So it was when their office was in Staten Island, and they had like Wu Wear, and then they had all the different labels going on, and everybody was signed somewhere else. So I was just basically in there helping with like bookings and stuff.
Okay.
So I remember like having to go with them to certain shows, you know, that was in the area.
I mean, you make it sound so easy. Like, yeah, I was just like in college, and then I like interned with Wu. Like, that's huge. At that time, did you realize like what a big fucking deal that was?
Well, you know what? To be honest, when my boy Scotty told me to do it, I didn't really want to. I was like, I don't want to work there because they had such a reputation for being like wild and crazy.
Yes.
And it's intimidating. And I was like, nah, those guys, they're too crazy. They fight all the time.
Right.
But they're like the nicest, sweetest people when you actually go there and work for them. And so I guess I didn't really think that hard about it. I was a little nervous when I first started because I didn't know anyone, and everybody there was like related. It'd be like this person's cousin, this person's uncle, this person's, you know, everybody was related. Everybody knew each other. Everybody was from Staten Island. They all grew up together. Everybody in the office. So I kind of felt like a little, do I belong like in here?
Yeah, sure.
But everything actually turned out great. And when I graduated, they did offer me a job.
Oh, wow. So did you take that job? Did you get the Wu necklace and the chain?
They ain't never give me a necklace.
All right. Well, I'm sure it's coming in the mail. It got lost.
But they tried to get me to drop out of college.
Yes.
My boss. And I only have 1 year left. And I was like, no, I'm going to go finish school.
That totally happened to me with Def Jam.
It
An
did?
executive was like, I went to Michigan. You should drop out and work for me. And I was like, no, I just have like a semester and I'm going to move to New York. By the time I moved, he had been fired. So, in retrospect,
you might have had his job, no?
Yeah, or I might have been on the unemployment line with him. So you never know.
I was like, I got 1 year left. I'm gonna finish.
Yeah.
You know? So I went back to school and then I came back. Unfortunately, they did offer me a job, and I was assistant to the CEO, and that was in the city actually.
Okay.
And it was Riz's brother, Divine, who I was working for.
How does it feel like working in this industry? Like, was your family supportive? Were they like, what are you doing working with the Wu-Tang? Like, what is this, right? It seems like you have like a fun career. You need to buckle down and get a real job.
My family never really stressed me about anything. If you meet my parents, you would be like, they just never really like, it's whatever.
Wow.
With them.
Okay.
Even my whole life, my parents have never been very strict with me.
Really?
Like, my house was the house where everybody would come and, like, spend the night at my house because we could do whatever we wanted.
Okay.
And, like, my parents would go to sleep and we would sneak out and go to the club.
Okay.
When I was in high school.
What were some of the clubs you were going to?
Well, we used to go to this club. It was a party. It was called Soul Kitchen. And they would play all the original songs that people, like, would...
Like sample?
Sample, yeah.
Oh, wow, okay.
It was a really fun party. And so I would go to that, and then I would come home after they left for work. So we would have to stay out till like 7 in the morning and then come back when my parents left for work. But we did it all the time. I can't imagine that they really had no idea.
They definitely had an idea.
Because we did it like so frequently. And then I would also do things like when they went to sleep, I would have mad guys come over like with my friends.
Excuse me? So like parties at the Yee household?
Yeah. My parents, I think they knew, but they just weren't like super strict like that.
Wow. That's weird, especially being half Asian, because usually most of our families are pretty strict. I know.
Well, he tried
experience.
it. No.
Right.
But my dad, I mean, I think that my parents are kind of young when they had me and my brother. So I think they were trying to like figure things out themselves. Sure. They were never very like parenty.
They were like the cool parents.
Not even. They just were like doing their own thing.
Okay. I can imagine. So you're working, with Wu-Tang. You're in there. Things probably start to pick up very quickly, right? Because now you're actually in the industry.
Well, I think it was an interesting first job to have because I was the only one that had like a really fun job out of all my friends.
Yeah.
So first of all, I was the first person in the office every day, right? We had to be there at 10.
Sure.
Sometimes no one would show up till like 2 o'clock.
hip hop time.
Not even the receptionist. So I remember my boss would be calling because it was like his cousin. Right. And so he would be calling and he would be like, where's this person? Where's that person? I'm like, they're not here yet. They're not here. So they got a clock. So we had to punch in.
Wow, time cards.
And then you know what happened? Yeah. Everybody would call me to punch in for them.
Sure.
Because I would be the only person there. And then I remember our receptionist, and that was my girl, right?
The one who came in at like 2 o'clock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She would, so some days she would bring her daughter to work. And so her daughter was 3. She was super cute. And she would be running around all over the place. So then Divine was like, nobody's allowed to bring their kids to work anymore. But she still would bring her daughter to work. And you would hear her like screaming in the background. Wow. It was just a fun, like very family-like environment. Yeah. Because then they had like another guy who was the head of promotions, but it was like their cousin who just got out of jail. It was mad funny. Sure. So I spent like a lot of time just basically like Divine wasn't there that much.
Sure.
So I was always there kind of handling things. And so I could tell you like every time the phone rang, it was always for me in the office. It would be like, Angela line 1, Angela line 2, Angela line 3. But it was great because I got a lot of experience because I got to do so many different things. Like I'm going to meetings with Steve Rifkin, with Ron Sweeney at Sony, and like the presidents of record labels and all of that just because I'm here. I remember we did like this charity boat ride, and I just remember it was like Leora Cohen, Kevin Lyles, and I was super young. Sure. And so I had a chance to meet people just from the different labels because they were on Loud Records, they were on Def Jam, right. They were on Epic, they were on was it Elektra? They were on MCA Records. It was just all a bunch of different labels that they were on. They had to deal with Priority Records.
How did you, though, kind of have that philosophy of like, I'm going to come in early, stay late? Because
I came in on time.
Oh, you came in on time. Even better. Okay.
Everyone else just came late.
Right. But how did you have that even at a young age? Because I think it's so easy to get caught up, right? In like going out and drinking and having fun. It's like a very fun industry, and I think especially when you're young, it's easy to get caught up in that.
I wasn't really like going out. First of all, I was dead broke, so it wasn't like
I was staying at home at this time.
No, I always had my own place.
Okay,
so it was really like broke. Like defer my student loans, can't pay those
ramen
right now.
Every night broke, or like Gray's papaya.
No, I would never eat that. But it was definitely like a ramen broke. And it was definitely like if there was something open bar or free food, I was there.
Totally.
You know? Yeah. So it was just trying to live.
It's very 20-something. Like when you're in your early 20s, you find out which event you know is going to have like hot food preferably.
And like that's also like a lot of dates, you know, like, oh yeah, let's go to, absolutely.
We should totally date until I'm not hungry anymore.
Let's go to BBQs. I ate at BBQs a lot because they had this quarter chicken for $4.99 with cornbread. Fries.
Yeah,
it was super cheap.
That's definitely like adjust for inflation. That'd be like a $20 meal right now. It's a good deal. Yeah.
So I did a lot of that, but you know, it was just trying to survive. And so I was definitely always good at being like on time for things.
Yeah. Well, even today, you were on time, which is a big deal in hip hop, I'm going to say.
I mean, and at work, I do radio. I have to be on time, too.
You can't just roll in whenever you feel like it.
Well, Charlamagne does, but you know, every morning. But I still manage to like, I get there before everybody. So.
Yeah. So you're working there. What's kind of the next move for you after that?
Well, I actually ended up quitting that job, and it was probably one of the worst decisions, but a great lesson that I learned.
Why did you decide to quit it?
Because I got offered a job making more money. I was making so little money when I was working there. They offered me $16,000 a year. So we came to an agreement. I told them that I had another job offer somewhere else at Columbia Records.
Great.
And which I really didn't. I did have an interview there, though. But anyway, I told them they offered me more money. And they gave me more money.
Oh,
he was like, okay, we'll match it. Yeah. Early on. And so I ended up making, I think it was like $25,000 or something like that.
Which was not too bad, because I remember when I first started in the industry, I think assistants made about 27-ish.
Because I remember that after taxes, my check was always like $400 or something like that every week.
Wow.
But, you know, I mean, I just didn't have any extra money. But you know what that did was it caused other people in the office to get a raise because they felt like they couldn't pay me more than everybody else, and I was brand new. So it was a good thing. You kind of
helped everyone out.
Yeah, I raised the minimum wage in the office.
That's awesome. Now you just got to go to Washington and do it for the rest of the country, and we'd be good, you know?
So then I got offered another job. So the guy that I actually interned for at MTV, which is why internships are so important, Fred, his boy was hiring, and he had got a label dealer at Virgin Records.
Okay.
And so he was like, they need a general manager for the office.
Sure.
So I was like, all right. And they offered me more money, you know. So I was going to be making like almost $40,000.
Which is huge.
That was a big jump.
Yeah, you're like rich now. Yeah.
So I just remember going to tell Divine I was leaving, and I was like, hey, I need to talk to you. Fred had me convinced that he was like, this job is just like, you need to be doing something more classy and elegant. Like,
did he really use the words
classy
he did. And elegant? Wow.
Yeah. And so I ended up going to work for Virgin Records.
Yeah.
At this label. It was a label underneath Virgin Records for D'Angelo.
Oh, gosh. Okay.
And it was like the worst decision. It was awful.
Well, now, which era D'Angelo are we talking about? Like,
this is
Voodoo?
right before... This is right before Voodoo. So
oh, wow.
This is after he had put out his first album.
Post Brown Sugar. Okay.
Right. And then he had gotten like kind of big.
Yeah.
But then he started working out with the trainer every day, Mark Jenkins.
Yes.
He started working out every single day with the trainer, and I would like schedule those appointments for him.
So you were watching D'Angelo transform before your eyes.
Yes, but here's the thing is that he was recording his second album, but he was never going to the studio. And they had rented all this equipment and had all these musicians come in, and they were paying for all this stuff, but he was just never going to the studio.
Wow.
So all that money was going to waste. And so his manager, who also was running the label at the time, I think he was very intimidated by him, so he would never like...
push back.
Yeah. So it was just a really bad job because that was the only artist they had. And then it just was like a terrible environment. Just the people that he hired. It was...
How much did you interact with D'Angelo directly?
Not a whole lot because he only came up there. He was really nice. I'll say that. He was like a nice person. He was cool. Like I talked to him on the phone a lot more than I used to see him because he probably came to the office like twice ever.
Right.
But and I remember when he moved, I had to go. He wasn't there, but I had to like go to his apartment and like oversee everything.
Yeah.
He had a lot of porn.
Really? What kind?
Like VHS cassettes. He likes big black women.
Oh, good for him. Okay. Fair enough.
I think that's great. I mean, you know, he had a whole chest filled with porn.
Wow. And you had to literally like carry it and move it to like...
Well, no, I didn't move anything. I just was overseeing because the movers came.
I was going to say,
so they wanted
gloves.
to make sure somebody was just there, you know, with the movers.
Definitely wear gloves if you did have to move the VHS.
But yeah, so I remember all of that. And I just remember watching how they were as like people running his label and his management and just thinking that like I didn't like the way that they handled his business and the way that they treated him. And I just remember thinking that like artists deserve better. Like if you manage an artist, you have to really care about them, you know, like care about them above yourself. It can't be, well, this is about me, fuck him.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how they were. It was more like, come on, we're just expensive to D'Angelo. Like you don't ever want people working with you. And that's why artists have to be a lot more involved with what goes on with their budgets and what goes on with the people who run their label and their management too, because there's a lot of artists who feel like I just want to do my music and do my art. But that's stressful when people are spending up all your money, letting you do things that don't make sense. And you need to like take care of that. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? It's you see so many artists that get into bad deals, bad situations, people steal money from them. And it's like they're not paying attention, you know?
So you're at Virgin, moving D'Angelo's porn among other job responsibilities. It sounds like you weren't happy there, though.
It was awful. I would wake up every day and be like, should I call out sick today? And then I would lay in bed for like half an hour trying to debate if I should call out sick. And then I would drag myself in. And I was just, it was miserable. There was nothing to do. There's nothing worse than a job with nothing to do.
Sure. When did you decide to leave?
I got fired.
What happened?
Truthfully, what happened was my boss at the time calls me in his office and he was like, I want to talk to you. And I was like, all right, got my pen, pad. And he's like, I think you should sleep with me. And I was like,
excuse me?
And I was like,
I think you should sleep with me. Just like that, like matter of fact.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I was like, what? And he was like, yeah, you know, just think about it. I'll take you to nice dinners. Nobody has to know. I take care of you.
Was this individual married or in a relationship? Why did it have to be secret?
No, he was single, but I just, first of all, I never gave him any like indication that I would be interested in any way. Like,
right.
It wasn't like we were cool. We never would go out and have drinks or anything. It was a strictly like my boy from MTV hooked it up.
Yeah.
I was there. So I was totally caught off guard because I don't feel like there was any reason for him to even think.
And it was just so like matter of fact.
Yeah. So he was kind of like slimy. So after that.
So what did you say? Like you're in that room.
I told him I would rather die, but it was a reaction. I was like, oh, I'd rather die.
And you literally wrote it in your notebook. Yeah. See, I would rather die.
I would rather die.
What did he say?
And he was like, all right, well, you know, good talk. And so after that, I called my best friend, Santi. And Santi had this artist named Reese.
Yeah.
And she did a development deal with Reese at the label through him.
Oh, wow.
So I told her what happened, right? And I was like, you know, I think I'm going to quit right now and not go back because I left. And I was talking to her, and she was like, well, I don't know. I mean, now we got to figure out what to do with this situation, blah, blah, blah. So I was like, and I needed the money, you know, and so he just stopped coming in the office after this happened, right?
Because he was uncomfortable, you were uncomfortable.
And so it was like maybe the next week, and then his partner actually fired me the next week. And I was like, cool. I went to my computer, deleted everything.
Wow.
And then they then they told me they were going to give me like, you know, my pay plus the extra, like whatever pay.
Yeah.
So I was like, cool. And so then they gave me a check, and then they canceled it.
Okay.
Yeah. So then I had to call up some of my boys, and I got my check.
Pay him a little visit. Yeah.
So I got my check the next day.
Wow.
After that. And, you know, that was it. That was it. That was an awful job. But anyway, the whole lesson in all of that is I took that job just because it was more money.
Sure.
And that was a terrible idea. If you're really, you know, at some place where you could grow, because I think I could have grown in my position where I was and stayed there, and it would have been a better situation. But I strictly left because it was an opportunity that seemed shinier, you know.
I think the words were classy and elegant.
Yeah, you know, you're thinking I'm working for D'Angelo at the time after Brown Sugar. That sounds
Sign
like...
me up. You saw that Untitled video.
I think I'm going to be, you know, waving incense around. And
totally, like rubbing him with like baby oil and salad dressing for that shine,
Yeah, I think that I'm going to be like, you know, doing some really big Essence Music Festival and all of that. And instead, that was like the worst job, and no fault of D'Angelo's, but just because of... you know, how it went down. And really, like, the guys at Wu-Tang treated me way better.
Wow, that's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
After that, did you kind of change how you viewed kind of people in this industry, or how you moved at all?
I think that, especially when I was younger, I was always very just like, go with the flow.
Yeah.
So that happened, and it didn't really make me feel like at all jaded. Because I got a job the next day.
Doing what?
I started working at a marketing company, a small marketing firm called Avenue B Marketing. And so, you know, I had already been in talks because I hated the job.
Right.
And when you hate a job, don't just stay there and hate it. Like, figure out how I'm going to get out of it.
Get out of Dodge, yeah.
So I had already been in talks. And when that happened, I called him and told him too.
Wow. So you very much kind of rolled with the punches. You didn't dwell.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm always plotting on what's next.
Is there a part of you that kind of started side-eyeing people a little bit, or no?
You know what? Maybe it would have been different if I loved my job. And, you know, I'm just being honest. Like, maybe it would have been different if I was, like, crushed because I was like, man, I love my job. I got fired. Instead,
you're like,
I was like,
in disguise.
Thank God I don't have to come into this place anymore. I can't stand him. I got an extra few weeks of pay, and I got another job. So So I was just like, F you, F you, F you.
Great.
Yeah. But, you know, nobody else has ever acted like that to me ever. That has never, ever happened to me at any other point in my career.
Yeah.
Where somebody that was like my boss did something like that to me. So I just feel like that was his own individual, like, grossness.
Mm-hmm. I mean, is this individual still working in the industry? Hopefully not.
You know, I don't think he's not alive anymore.
Oh, okay. Well,
I think he overdosed or something.
Wow. All right. Well, that's sad. Do you feel, though, kind of looking at the industry as a whole, things are getting better insofar as kind of like sexism, how women are treated, or is it still kind of
I think it's better. And I was just going to say, and just to backtrack, that another reason why it probably didn't affect me so negatively, because I had such a great experience with Wu-Tang.
Yeah.
You know, like...
you came in the industry with a positive
like, the
experience.
guy treated me so well. Nobody was, like, harassing me.
Yeah.
Except maybe, like, oh, dirty bastard, but he did that to everyone, and it was, like, a joke. You know what I'm saying?
R.I.P., sure.
But everybody else was, like, little sister, you know, take care of you. Like, my boss was great. He wouldn't let anybody talk to me crazy.
Wow.
Like, if he was in his office and he heard anybody saying, he'd be like, don't talk to Angela like that. Like, you know, so I feel like I was really good just because I had that before that happened to me.
Sure.
So I'm just going to say that. But I think that it is better.
Okay.
But clearly, like, you know, when you hear a story about Harvey Weinstein, I'm not in Hollywood at all.
Right.
So we've always heard the casting couch and stories like that. And, you know, it just seems like, oh, it was what it was. You know,
or
you hear about the Bill Cosby stories.
Fuck for tracks, yeah.
Right. And you hear all of those stories. But I do feel like we have so many choices right now. Like, I know plenty of people that work and don't act like that. And I know people who don't treat me like that.
Yeah.
So I think that's important. Like, you know, I don't know. Have you ever had any experiences?
Definitely not like outright, like you should sleep with me. But in the beginning of my career, there were a lot of like, we should have a business meeting at midnight for some reason. or for whatever reason, you take your wedding ring off before we're talking about business.
It hurts.
Like, it's a little weird, right?
Suffocating my finger.
Yeah, oh man, my finger feels so free now. But, you know, for me, like, my first internship was at Bad Boy.
Right.
So I had a very much a bird's eye view of just kind of how different people moved. But I would say that it kind of affected with how I chose to move, especially in the beginning.
Right.
You know, being very much, I think for young women, it's, you know, you want to be respected for your business as opposed to anything else. So I was very much like separation between church and state. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, no. And I think the other thing is that you have to understand that people are going to shoot their shot and try things.
Totally.
And that's fine to me, but it's just, if you turn them down, are they still cool?
Right.
And I don't think that anybody in a position of power over you should do that to you.
100%.
It's different if it's like somebody comes by the studio, they're with the artist, they're going to shoot their shot. It's nothing. Like, oh, you silly, whatever, you playing, I got a boyfriend. Oh, tell your baby mom I said hi. And then keep it moving. And it should be fine. But it's just different when it's somebody that holds power over you and they do that to you and make it feel like if you don't do this, you won't get this.
Yeah,
you know?
Sure.
But if somebody's like, listen, I think you're attractive, you know, would you like to go out with me? I wouldn't feel like, oh my God, that person harassed me.
Right. Well, I do think, you know, and if a guy wants to approach you and shoot his shot, you could do it respectfully. Like you said, hey, let's go to Angela's juice bar later.
Right.
Great. Sounds good to me. Or,
That
hey,
works.
you know what? Let's build a friendship and see where that goes. And I think most people, at least from my experience, that's kind of been their protocol, which I'm okay with. Look, office romances happen all the time.
But I know people who have workplaces where they hated the fact that someone with no experience got brought in because it was somebody's girlfriend.
Right.
And then next thing you know, I got to answer to this woman who doesn't know anything about this particular line of work and, you know, only got the job because of that.
Yeah.
And, you know, at the end of the day.
But it's funny, though, because they don't say the same thing when someone's weed carrier becomes the head of marketing.
Right.
Or someone's cousin is now head of
that
promotions.
means they marketed their weed really well, so it makes sense.
I mean, hey, God bless to that, right? But I think it's the gender conversation, right? Like with a woman, we have to prove why we're in the room. Like, prove to me why you're at this table. For a guy, no one asks. It's like, you know, that's his brother, right? Like, he didn't go to a management school. Like, he didn't, you know, he didn't go to Yale School of Management. Like, he's just the friend. Or he's the guy who drove the car, and now he's running.
I mean, even for me, when I started doing radio at Sirius, I had no background in radio.
Yeah. And
my boss straight up told me, you know, after I got hired and things were going well, he was like, yeah, when you first came, we thought you must have fucked somebody to get this.
See, that's crazy. So, I mean, so take me back. You're working at this marketing company, and then after that, you worked at Shady, yeah?
After that, I worked for Nile Rodgers for his distribution label.
Okay.
So, who I love. I absolutely adore Nile Rodgers. And
legend.
Then I was doing some freelancing. So I was working for like a couple of different clothing lines. I was working with Nile. I was doing artist management. And then I ran into Paul Rosenberg, M's manager.
Okay.
And he told me they were starting a clothing line, Shady Limited.
Yeah.
So I actually started working for them, but that was just one of my clients when I first started. So I was still freelancing, but then they actually, the head of their distribution for the clothing offered me a full-time job. Okay. So I told Paul, and he was like, all right, if you want to do it, you know, go for it. So I ended up working there until, you know, that clothing line situation fell apart.
Yes. Like a lot of hip hop clothing lines. Yeah.
And and I think they just had two different visions. Like Eminem is not like I want to put my name all over everything huge. And the apparel company is like, we want to put your name on everything huge.
Right. We need your face. Yeah, sure.
They just were getting frustrated with not having the access to him that they wanted. But he also wasn't trying to pimp himself out.
No.
And then they wanted it to be like a nice, you know, brand. But these guys wanted to have it like in Marshalls, no pun intended.
Sure.
And Marshalls and like, you know.
Yeah, just regular.
Burlington Coat Factory.
Yeah.
Just any place where you could mass produce something and make money off of it. And so they just kind of didn't get along. So I ended up, after that, just getting unemployment for a few months.
Okay.
Because it was my first time not working in so long.
Yeah.
Like since college.
Yeah.
So I was like, let me just take a little bit of time to like figure out what I want my next move to be. You know, type of thing where let me just take a little bit of time, figure this out, because, you know, I don't know if I'm happy doing marketing.
Right. And you've done so much different stuff at this point.
Right. Do I want to do something else? And it was just nice not to have to be somewhere doing something every single day. So after that, I was like, I looked at, I think that it was like hot jobs on Yahoo or something. You know, they used to have a category for like finding jobs. And I remember I had these books at home about like hot jobs. They did like a series of books about like how to find a new job, do your all that stuff. So I was like, oh, look at this. There's an opening at Sirius.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, you know what? I should call Paul Rosenberg because Eminem just launched the station.
Sure, Shade
45. It had just launched. And I should ask him about doing marketing because they had a marketing opening.
Sure.
So I called him up and he was like, oh, yeah. And, you know, me and Paul always had like a great relationship.
Yeah.
And so...
was he like a mentor kind of?
I wouldn't say that, but he was like
just like a good dude.
Yeah, he was just like always looking out for me.
Sure.
But I would always make sure that I did what I had to do because he wouldn't look out for me if I was terrible at what I did.
Totally.
You know? So he was like, all right, you know, no problem. Hey, how would you like to be on the air? But what it was the station had just started and they didn't have a woman yet on the morning show and they were looking for one. So it was the timing of it.
Opportune, yeah.
So I was like, all right, you know, sure. So he set me up with the meeting. I went in there. They didn't have a choice but to audition. It was just an audition, really.
Sure. Did you audition with any other host or just you by yourself?
Well, Cypher Sounds was on already.
Okay.
So I was on with him. He didn't know, like,
did you know Cypher from before? Or?
I knew him, but not really well.
Okay.
So
he's looking at you like, who are you and why are you on my show?
Right. He knew me, but he also looked at it like this is a spy that Paul Rosenberg has sent in here.
Right.
You know, to
a little
see
bit
what's
of
going
an
on.
Industry plant, yeah.
So I just was like, whatever. So I went in there. I was doing my job. And
now, did you ever have sort of aspirations to be like on air or be a personality?
No.
Or you literally were like, yeah, why not?
I was like, I'll try it. Why? I mean, that's a great opportunity, you know. So
how do you prepare for that? Like your first audition?
I didn't prepare. I didn't do anything. I just came in. I didn't know what was going on. No one told me anything.
Right.
I was just there. It was terrible.
Okay.
It was a mess. It was a disaster. I'm not gonna lie. And it went on like that for a while. Like.
The audition process.
Yeah, because they just had me keep coming in. But what they did like was that I didn't have any radio training, so I wasn't very dead set on how I should act.
Yeah.
So it was like I was moldable.
Sure.
So I went in there with, you know, no experience. I was really, really terrible. And I remember Old Dirty Bastard passed away when I first started. And I actually had Jizza call in to talk about it, and no one else got anything with any of the guys, you know, discussing it. So I remember like people from the other stations up there were like, can we get a call? I was like, no. Like, I would never even ask him that.
Right.
But that was a big deal. And then we interviewed Jay-Z, and that was the next big deal.
Yeah.
And Jay-Z already knew me.
How?
So,
how'd you know Jay?
I mean, I'm from Brooklyn. He's from Brooklyn. Okay. I knew Tata. I knew like all of them.
Just like coming up, you knew them, or just seeing them
I think
around?
I met them when I was like 19 years old or something.
Okay.
So this was
at
like
one of those parties, those Soul
like
Kitchen
10 years,
parties or whatever.
No, it wasn't there. I think it was at the Palladium.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But everybody used to be out. Like I think during that time, it was the same people at all the parties. So you would be the same people with the Palladium, the same people at the Tunnel, the same people at the Limelight, the same people at Grant's Tomb.
Okay.
So you would always see all the same people.
Sure.
So, you know, it was a funny interview, and we walked out of that interview, and my boss was like, "You're hired."
Wow.
And that's how it happened.
How did the Jay-Z interview come to be? I mean, did you like have to pick up the phone and
I didn't set it up.
Oh, it just
he didn't even know I worked there.
Wow.
Yes, because I didn't really work there. I was auditioning.
You were auditioning. Yeah. Well, what's crazy, I think compared to a lot of rappers, Jay is, from what I've heard, one of the hardest interviews, right? Because he does very little press, and he's not someone, like, he has a great poker face. It's hard to, like...
But this was earlier on, too.
Okay.
This was when he became president of Def Jam.
Okay, so you feel like the conversation was not as intimidating. It was Memphis Bleak.
Okay. It was Young Chris.
Yes.
So it was the three of them in the interview with me.
Okay.
And it was Cypher, you know, it was Cypher Sounds, and I was just his co-host. I mean, you can still, it's online.
Yeah.
And it's a hilarious interview.
Were you nervous at all? I mean, this is Jay-Z.
I was. He brought Beyonce with him.
Whoa.
And that was before he had said that they were dating.
Yeah.
So she was with him, but she went in the green room. And at first I thought she was going to stay in the room with us. I was like, oh man, this is about to be a disaster.
Totally.
And the conversation is so awkward, but you have to hear it. Because I remember I had told Cypher something like, Ozone Magazine, remember they had the groupie confession in the beginning? So this girl had did like a groupie confession about Jay-Z.
Whoa.
So we were talking about it. So then Cypher brought it up in the interview. He's like, yo, tell him what you... I was like, I'm just saying, I read, you know. He was like, what? What'd you hear?
You're like, well, according to Ozone Magazine on page 3.
I was like, well, I heard it's big, but you... And he was like, yeah, that's right.
Oh.
I was like, but I heard you can't work it. And he was like, no, that's a lie. That's a lie.
That is a bold-faced lie while his girlfriend is in earshot.
But it's a funny interview because it's so awkward because Cypher made me say it, like bring it up.
Yeah.
And then it was also Chinese New Year that day.
Okay.
And it was the year of the cock.
All the stars aligned for you. Yeah.
So it ended up being a really funny interview. And then we started talking about a time when like Jay-Z battled Jizza when they were younger, because Jay was like, yeah, don't you work with RZA, Jizza, one of those guys? Like he was just trying to be funny. Yeah. So we started talking about the battle that they had, and like, you know, it was a good, like,
good vibe,
funny conversation. I asked him about Beyonce, but my voice cracked when I did it because I was nervous.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Oh, your voice cracked." Just it was just funny because like we were just going back and forth.
Yeah.
And I was talking about how he used to dress, and he used to wear Durango boots and all of that. So
the Hawaiian shirts.
Yeah.
At any point, are you like starstruck? Like you're already around like the biggest artists of the genre, like, or is it just regular for you?
You know, I didn't really get starstruck, only because for a few different reasons. Like I worked at a marketing company and we did a lot of stuff with celebrities already.
Okay.
So I was kind of used to being around people, and I used to go out all the time.
Right.
Like I used to be like at every club. I used to be at the Tunnel every week. I knew a lot of people. So I already had seen a lot of these people, and they were just thought it was weird when I started doing radio, because you got to think, I worked for Wu-Tang.
Right.
All the different labels, all the different events they had, all the affiliations they had with people, you know. So I was kind of really used to it.
Yeah.
So it wasn't ever like awkward for me.
So you were there for quite some time.
6 years.
6 years. Why did you decide to leave?
Because I got offered, well, it was a couple of reasons, but I knew, number one, like they just weren't paying me the money that I felt like I deserved. And so at all, period. Like when Cypher left, they never hired a co-host for me. And so I told them I want to at least get the salary he was getting. Plus I didn't have a co-host, but they wouldn't do it.
Wow.
And I'm like, well, how can you pay him, you know, X amount, and then I'm taking over his responsibilities and then some, and you don't want to, and they didn't never gave me like extra money for doing lip service or anything.
What do you attribute to that?
I think that they're very old fashioned.
Okay.
And I think that they kind of looked at me because that was my start in radio. Like,
yeah,
well, she wouldn't be anybody without us.
Right. Where else is she going to go?
Right.
Yeah.
But what they didn't know was that at that time, well, Hot 97 did offer me a job, so I got a raise out of that.
Okay.
Because when Cypher left, they wanted me to come too. But I stayed to do my own show.
So you negotiated that offer against Sirius, sure.
And truthfully, like Hot 97 offered me less money.
Really?
Yeah, less money. Imagine less than I was making at Sirius. Well, but I think their mentality was like, you should just be happy to be at Hot 97.
Right.
You know, and I was like, no, I'm happier to make money.
Right.
And have my own show. So I decided to stay because I waited out, and I was like, listen, I want to stay here and have the show that's mine.
Yeah.
And have a morning show that's mine. And I felt like I knew that I would be given a bigger opportunity if I did that. Because at Hot 97, there was just no slot for me. Like, I was going to be on the show.
What did they want you to do at Hot 97?
They wanted me to be on a morning show. It was going to be Cypher Sounds, Peter Rosenberg, their show, and then I would be on there. And it wouldn't even be my name on there.
2 guys, and you can sit in a corner.
And hey guys, it's 35 going up to a high of 42, and be careful with traffic on the FDR. There's an accident, an overturned vehicle. Like, that's what they wanted me to do.
Now, back to you, Cypher. Yeah, for sure.
And so I was like, why would I take less money, a smaller role, or I could stay here where I got paid double what you guys offered me.
Wow.
And, you know, have my own show where I could do anything I want.
Yeah, for sure. How did you kind of know your worth, though? Because I think a lot of people in that position, it's Hot 97. It's like a huge station. It's a big jump. I'll take what I can get. Like,
I might have been the only person that ever turned down a job.
Right, at Hot 97.
Because I didn't come from radio. So it's not like I grew up thinking to myself, one day I want to be on Hot 97.
Right.
It was more like a practical, like,
I need
this
to pay
job
bills.
is offering me this.
Right.
This job pays me this.
You still had your student loans, right?
Yeah, I think, did I pay him? Yeah, I still have my student loans.
Yeah.
And so it was a practical decision, and I'm glad that it was, because sometimes we make decisions that are emotional when it comes to, like, our careers and our lives, and practically speaking, that would have been an awful decision for me.
Yeah, for sure.
So fortunately, I was smart enough to stay.
Yeah. So when did the power opportunity come?
So I got offered mornings in Philly. And then I got a call from Atlanta also.
Wow.
Where they were trying to figure out, you know, something for me in Atlanta. And then I was actually leaving a meeting with Radio 1. And I was walking back to my car, and they were like full throttle, like, listen, anything you need, we want you to come do mornings in Philly, whatever. I walked back to the car. And, you know, shout out to, like, them for believing in me so early on. Cause, you know, Kobe reached out to me, like, on Facebook. Like, yo, I love what you're doing.
Yeah, you definitely dated yourself with that on Facebook.
Yeah, he reached out to me on Facebook.
Yeah.
And he never met me, but just knew who I was from Sirius. And he had, like, the vision to be like, you would be great. And I thought that was awesome. Like, that made me feel validated that somebody...
And gives you that confidence.
I never sent out my... You know, I never had an air check, never sent it out to try to get a job. And people were really, like, hitting me up. So that was a great feeling. And so I was walking back to my car from that meeting where they were like, we just signed the contract here. and we'll do this, we'll do that. And I was like, no, let's slow down. I was like, I really was thinking about it though. I was thinking about moving to Philly, you know, whatever. Like, where would I live?
Yeah, sure. Ishkabels, yeah.
And that's when Cadillac Jack from Power 105 called me while I was walking back to the car. And he was like, hey, would you be interested in an opportunity here?
And these are just random people calling you. It's not like you said, you had no air check. It wasn't like you were telling people I'm trying to leave. It was just kind of like word of mouth because your presence was growing in the industry.
Yeah, and I mean, like, I knew G-Spin, and G-Spin was the one from Power that was like, yeah, I think he wanted me to do weekends at Power, and Sirius wouldn't let me. So
like at the same time.
Yeah, he wanted, like, I could have stayed there. He wanted me to come and just do weekends just to kind of ease me in.
But didn't other people at Sirius, weren't they also working at other radio stations?
Sure were, and they told me I couldn't do it. They said they got grandfathered in, and they were already doing it first, and then came to Sirius after.
That's a really nice way of saying, like, because you're a woman, we're not going to let you do it.
I mean, I thought it was ridiculous.
Yeah.
You know, and maybe I would have stayed if they would have let me do other things, but...
It sounds like they were very confining.
Yeah, I think, like, we had so many issues with the management at Sirius. I think part of it was them not respecting the urban music that we did, like the hip hop and R&B. They have no respect for it, the people that run it. So, and it was like, I mean, I had like a really terrible time. I remember they got mad at me because I did an interview with, I think it was Kim and Khloe Kardashian.
Wow. Okay.
Right. But, you know, Howard Stern was there. So a lot of times people would leave Howard Stern and then come do our show.
Yeah.
And everything was fine. No problems. Their publicist was in there. They found a great interview. Thank you. But then afterward, they found out there was a woman. Her name was Carmen Ortega. She had I guess Reggie Bush was messing with her while he was with Kim.
Okay.
And I had interviewed her like previously on the show, and I guess they found that out after. So then they called up and complained and said I was inappropriate, and nothing had happened that was inappropriate.
And how is that your fault if Reggie Bush is allegedly double dipping?
But I guess they felt like they wanted to try to, like, you know. So in my head, right, I'm like, oh, well, that's ridiculous. You guys were in the room. We have the videotape. They didn't have any problem.
Sure.
Instead, they were like, well, you know, they also represent Miley Cyrus, their PR, and we don't want to really have any issues, and, you know, da-da-da-da-da. And I was like, so you want me to, I said, you know what? How about I just don't air their interview, and, like, let's just, and at that time, I knew I had to get out of there. I was like, I got to be here.
Because they weren't fighting.
They don't have
for
my
you.
back at all. And I didn't even, and I was such a good, like, employee.
Well, it's funny because I think that's a really valid point, right? When you do a good job, you know you're qualified, you're killing it. I think it's important to work at a company or with a team that really has your back. So you end up leaving. Tell me about that first day at Power.
So when I left, I gave 2 weeks notice to Sirius. I thought they were going to, because in radio, when you quit, they'd be like, get your shit and get out.
Okay.
But they wanted me to do the 2 weeks. I think they were torturing me. So I had to do both jobs at the same time. So it was a lot. So I would leave Sirius and then go to Power, and we were doing like practice shows at Power. So it was just us trying to figure it out. We were trying to come up with a name. We didn't have any of those things done yet.
Where did the Breakfast Club come from?
I don't even know.
The classic movie?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't even know who thought of it. It was just like in the meeting.
Yeah.
We had some terrible names. Charlamagne wanted to call it like the Illuminati or something like that in the morning.
Totally. That would have been good for SEO though. People searching the Illuminati. Yeah.
And then they were like, oh, the big three.
Okay.
They wanted to call it, but you know, that was off of like D Wade and Chris. And LeBron.
Yeah. Now, did you know Envy and Char from before?
Yeah, Envy worked at Sirius also, and Charlamagne had been when I was on my show by myself doing mornings. He had came and co-hosted with me a couple of times.
Okay, and now was there immediate chemistry between you guys, or did you
we all already got along, and we knew that we had been in talks, the three of us. You know what's funny? Everybody knew Charlamagne was coming. They knew Envy was already there at Power for the morning show. They thought the third person was Miss Info for the longest because I couldn't announce it because I had a job.
Yeah.
So
was she auditioning?
No.
Okay.
They just
randomly
made that up. So everybody thought it was that, and then, you know, it got announced that it was me when they put out the press release.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, so we did like 2 weeks of practice shows before we actually went on the air. Yeah. And we had to spend a lot of time together.
Just like hanging out. Just to like get each other's vibe.
Like,
Now, do you guys hang out in real life too?
Pretty much only when we have to, like work-wise.
Sure.
Because we have to a lot.
Yeah, for sure.
So we don't like voluntarily when we're not working.
You're not just like going to the movies, going to brunch.
Yeah, I'd rather spend time with my friends.
I feel right out the bat, the Breakfast Club, the chemistry was there. And I think especially in New York, it just felt like a really youthful vibe and like a fresh take on hip hop.
Well, at first, I don't think a lot of people even knew we were on the air because it takes a long time
Okay.
for people to even notice that, and Hot 97 has been such an established station for so long in New York that people automatically go to that station. So it was time to reprogram people. We had to do a whole campaign so people would even know we were on the air. Honestly, our ratings were not good at first at all.
Okay.
And ratings are very based off of quarter hour this, and you got to make sure you play the music at this time, get in the talk break here. The person has to listen from this time to this time, and that's ratings are weird,
right?
So our ratings weren't good. They actually almost canceled our show really quickly.
No way, really?
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think they just kept it going?
Because some people saw potential, like Doc Winter at iHeart saw the potential in the show, and he was like, "Nah, we got to keep it going." Dennis Clark, who works with us and at iHeart, also saw potential, so they listened to them. They were gonna, if our show didn't work out, they were gonna flip the format of the whole entire station.
What do you think was the turning point where it went from we're probably going to cancel you to where we are now?
I think the ratings started to get better. It just takes time. People got to give you time to develop. And so
it's almost like a new relationship. You have to kind of get to know these new faces, new voices. Yeah.
Right. And, then we had that Ray J thing where he called in, and that was really big for us.
Right. Sure.
When it happened.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of us saying, okay, we got to go out. We got to be everywhere. We got to be at every event in New York so people see us and know us.
Yeah.
And so it was just us putting in a lot of that groundwork. I did every interview, every little thing that I could possibly do.
Yeah. Well, that's one thing I'll say about you even now. I've seen you at so many different events. I remember you and Mike Kaiser from Atlantic used to throw your own events, Bottles and Strikes. So was that something kind of like a concerted effort on your part? Look, I need to be in the streets, kiss babies, shake hands. People need to know us. Was that kind of a part of the Breakfast Club, or is that just your personality?
It is also my personality.
Yeah.
I've always done a lot of events.
Yeah.
Even ever since I was in high school, I had a birthday party every single year of my life. But I've always been I worked at marketing companies and I always would plan events. So I enjoy it. And then me and Kaiser decided to do these bowling parties just for fun. We didn't make any money off of it.
Right.
It was just let's do this fun party and everybody drinks and bowls for free.
Yeah. But I think it was good to just kind of increase your profile, right?
Yeah.
Because you were literally at so many different events. I feel I've seen you over the years.
Yeah, and I think that's important because I always tell people that to go out and network is really important.
Sure.
Sometimes you feel I don't want to go party. I don't want to do this. But it's not necessarily just partying.
Yeah.
It's certain events that if you're at those things, it shows that you're supporting, certain people that might have done stuff for you in the past.
Sure.
You're okay, let me go support this person's album release. Let me go support Sowmya for her birthday.
Sure.
Even though, I'm exhausted, I'm still going to at least go show my face because it means a lot to people.
Absolutely.
When you do something like that, and it gives you a different relationship with an artist when you went to their event, and then they come in to do an interview, and they feel some type of okay,
there's a commonality already,
right. It's also a little letting your guard down a little.
I mean, for you, are you someone that naturally that kind of networking bug is just there for you, or do you got to when you go in a room, you got to think about it? All right, I got to meet this person. I don't want to drink too much, and do you got to consciously think of it?
But I've never said I don't want to drink too much.
Okay,
but,
fair enough.
No, I'm just kidding. No, but I don't think of it like that. I just feel okay, I'm going to go to this event. I'm going to show some support.
Yeah.
But I always know my exit time because I'd be okay, I'm only staying for X amount of time. But even that, I know that's important to people.
Absolutely.
And right now, my time is so, crazy. This morning, did my morning show. Then we had a photo shoot at work.
Totally.
Then I left to go do Essence Facebook Live. Now I'm here with you.
Yes.
Then I have to do 2 episodes of my podcast.
Amazing.
When I leave here. So,
yeah.
It's not even if I want to go out later tonight, I might pass out. I mean, really, I've gotten a lot of jobs just from being at the
100%.
right place. Listen, when Paul hired me for working on a Shady clothing line, I was at the Dave Chappelle premiere for his show.
Wow.
He was sitting right in front of me. He turns around oh, I was just talking about you.
And Paul's a tall guy, so you definitely saw his back.
And I definitely had to go around him.
Yeah.
But I was he goes, I was trying to reach you because I think it would be great for you to come work at the clothing line.
See?
I was all right. He was all right, I'll call you tomorrow.
There you go.
And that was it. And it's probably just him seeing me spark that.
Yeah.
Because maybe he never would have called me and thought about it. But then he saw me and was oh, shit, we got a clothing line launching.
Exactly.
And then even G-Spin knew me from seeing me out all the time and then listened to me on Sirius and was oh, I know her. And then... that's what inspired him to say, let's get you on weekends.
Yeah.
And that's what put me on the radar at iHeart.
So at the Breakfast Club, I feel you've interviewed everyone, right? From Gucci, Mariah, Hillary Clinton, like literally everyone and their mom. Most difficult interview.
Most difficult?
Yeah. Or worst interview, however you want to word it.
Birdman, that one didn't even happen.
I think that lasted, what, like 0.2 milliseconds?
That was like our shortest interview ever.
Guinness Book of World Records, shortest interview ever.
Yeah, that was our shortest interview. Birdman, that was a difficult one.
Yeah.
He was trying to like make us feel threatened. Kodak, I didn't mind. Chief Keef was pretty bad.
Okay. Just like he wasn't very talkative?
Yeah,
or,
he wasn't very talkative.
Yeah.
I was like, how old are you? He was like 300.
Well, I remember I interviewed him when he was in rehab, and probably the first 2 to 3 hours, nothing it was literally just, I'm just going to sit here, you're going to sit here, and we're just going to like not speak.
So you stuck through it though?
I stuck through it. Yeah. Do you have any like techniques or things you go to try to engage and really connect?
The good thing is all our interviews are pre-recorded. So we could always like take our time to get into it if we have to, and then just use the best part of it.
Yeah.
You know, so there's the magic of that.
You're right.
But I think, you know, as hosts, you have to be funny yourselves and like interesting, so that even if your guest isn't interesting, at least like you can have some fun.
At least you can entertain yourself.
Right. At least you can be like, well, somebody had a crazy night. You're not very talkative today.
I'm just going to talk to myself for the rest of this interview.
Well, this isn't going well, you know, and things like that can be really entertaining. Like you should be able to be great even if there is no guest at all.
How do you prep for an interview?
I try to do as much research as I can. Sometimes we have like 4 interviews and it's a lot. Yeah. You know, for me to even remember. But what's important for me is to like, I look at other interviews the person has done. If they have an album, I listen to the album. Sure. You know, I kind of...
Which is a big thing. I can't tell you how many artists have been like, thank you for listening to the album.
Yeah, people don't even do that.
No one does that anymore.
I hate when people do interviews and you come in and the interviewer will be like, so what are you working on? Oh, you have an album coming out? Like, they don't know anything about you.
So what do
that's
you do?
Awful. Right.
Favorite interview?
Favorite interview? Well, I'm going to say Jay-Z because he got me my job.
Totally. But, thanks, Ho.
But I think I have, as far as favorites, I don't know. There's so many interviews that I really enjoy. I like JB Smoove a lot. I had a great interview with him when I was at Sirius. Yeah. You know, some of my favorite interviews are also on Lip Service.
Yeah, for sure.
That I think are really funny when people like... I enjoyed when we interviewed YG because he doesn't really talk a lot in interviews. Yeah. So when he came up there and had a good time, I thought that was fun for me. Dave East was really funny on there. You know. She likes French Montana.
French Montana,
Yeah, he got really drunk, and then he was letting us look at how he stores people's names in his phone.
I've seen that on his phone, too.
Donkey and where they're from.
Yeah, and where they're from.
Or where he met them.
Totally.
Or what reality show they're on.
Yes. yes. He does like showing off the phone. So quickly wrapping up, what's kind of like your biggest piece of advice for someone coming into the game, already in the game, who's like looking at you like, wow, I want to be like Angela Yee.
Just work really, 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 really hard. Mm-hmm. There's just no shortcut, no way around that. And it's not going to happen easily. It's not going to happen quickly. Be really patient. Make sure you do your research. Don't just jump headfirst into something. And don't think that anybody owes you anything. All you have to do is work really, really hard. Nobody's going to hand you anything. Don't expect them to. You got to go for it.